This is 4 epiphanies that I've gotten from studying psychology. Epiphany number 1, you are always having 2 conversations with people in your life. So on the surface, you and I are having a conversation and I'm speaking words and your neocortical brain, the language center of your brain, is like, oh, this random YouTuber guy is speaking words to me. I'm going to interpret those words and turn it into meanings for myself. But there's a whole other conversation that you and I are having. And it's not as strong because this is virtual, but there's a conversation of our limbic systems. Right now, I'm also creating emotions inside of your brain. You're saying this guy is lame, or this guy's amazing, or this guy is trustworthy, or this guy seems sneaky, or whatever it is. But my presentation style, the way that I speak, my body movements, my facial expressions, they're creating, they're making your limbic system light up. So whenever you go out into the world, this is always happening with everybody you meet. And the most important conversation you're having at all times is not the words that you're saying. It's the way that you're affecting somebody's emotions, aka their limbic system. And in psychology, they call this limbic resonance. When animals get together, like say there's a herd of zebra and there's a lion around, the zebra don't have to tap with their hooves on each other's bodies and be like, yo, there's a lion around. They're able to link up their physiological systems. It's like a sense, it's an emotional sense that they have in their brains of alert. And human beings have this too. So the reason this is so important and so practical to use is that when you go to speak to somebody, or when you go to just do anything, like connect with anybody, if you're all in your head and you're speaking words to them and you think that that's what matters, then you're missing the point of the entire interaction. In sales, the idea is to get the person to feel like they trust you. When you're dating somebody, it really doesn't, or trying to approach somebody, it really doesn't matter what you say, but it matters how you make them feel. And generally the way that we make people feel is reflective of how we feel. The reason that it was so helpful for me is because it kind of got me out of my head a little bit, and it made me realize the importance of having the conversation, of me enjoying somebody while also having the conversation to their rational brain about whatever is happening in the weather that day or something. Practical epiphany number 2, anxiety thrives off of avoidance. So I'm a relatively anxious person, and this was extremely practical and extremely monumental for me to understand. Basically, a lot of the things that give me anxiety, whether it's approaching a beautiful woman or my boss, or talking with family members that I admire, not wanting to sound like a dummy, the fact that they scare me and the fact that I avoid situations where I have to encounter that stimulus or encounter that fear, that is what is making my anxiety bigger and bigger. So it's like whenever you're anxious about something, whatever it is, you are teaching your brain that thing is important to pay attention to. But with anxiety, it tries to keep you from these things. And every time it keeps you from something, the thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's so big that it feels like it's unmanageable. So yes, anxiety thrives off of avoidance. And if there's something that gives you anxiety, then the best thing that you can do is break it into chunks and face it step by step until you've mastered the thing that used to make you shake in your little space boots. Number 3, meaning is greater than happiness. I think that it's very easy, or it was very easy for me to, especially earlier, to think that my life was all about being happy and that I needed to do everything that I could to try and feel good that day. And it wasn't until I learned about the real importance of meaning over happiness, and that genuine, good, solid, kid-tested, parent-approved meaning is really what's going to take you through the struggles of life. And that feeling happy is kind of, first of all, it's not really something that we can control. You can't make yourself feel happy, or else everybody would be doing it. And also, it's not a very good goal, because even when you do feel happy, it's going to leave when you don't want it to. Or not when you don't want it to, but you can't really control when it comes and it goes. And because you can't control when it comes and it goes, then it's a really bad thing to strive for. And there's this weird thing that happens when you try to be happy. And when you try to be happy, for whatever reason, your brain starts noticing how unhappy you are in comparison to how much happiness you'd like to be experiencing. And when you have that, It's like priming you to be unhappy. So paying attention to your happiness so much is actually not really doing you any favors, and trying to be happy might be causing the opposite effect. Whereas if you create meaning and you build your life around trying to do things that just you, only you find valuable, and it could be anything. Start small if you have no fucking idea what that is. But once you get to that point where it's like, this is what I think life is, I'm going to shut out all the other voices, and I'm going to decide what this means today, what this video means to me today, and that's all that matters. Once you get enough of those things going, then you'll have this life that's rich in meaning that you authored, and that feels strong and can hold up against like a storm, as opposed to just like going out trying to find things that make you happy temporarily. I hope that made sense. Practical epiphany number 4, achieving your goals is largely due to 3 things: competence, autonomy, and control. So this comes from a psychological theory called self-determination theory, but it's practical because when you go to the gym, or when you have, say you have X goal that you want to achieve, there's a couple of things that you want to do. You want to make sure that you feel like you have the ability to actually go through with it. So when you say that you want to do a goal, or when you say you want to accomplish something, you got to kind of feel it out too when you say it, to know if it's something that you really feel like you can accomplish. If you decide, I want to lose 30 pounds in 4 weeks, you can say that, but you're going to feel something that knows that that's kind of impossible. So you say something, you say, I want to achieve this goal, and you have to feel if it's something that you feel like you could actually do, that you have enough control over to make it happen. So that would be the first pillar. The second pillar would be autonomy, and that's the idea that you are the one that is choosing, you are the one that is writing, you are the one that is responsible for the goal that you want to achieve. And the reason that this is so important is can be illustrated with an example. Like when you go to work, if somebody says you have to go to work today, you have to show up and you have to write these little things, and you have to, do your calendar this way, and you have to interview this many people, and then that's what you have to do. That feels like shit. You don't want to do that because you have no autonomy. There's no choice from you. Or on the flip side, if you say, well, you know what, I'm going to go to work today. I'm deciding to do this calendar because I want to. I am the one that wants to do this. It's the same activity, but if you flip it to where no one's telling you to do it, you are choosing to do it, now you're starting to feel empowered. And this is really big in our motivational systems, the idea that we are choosing and moving toward the goal on our own accord rather than being pulled or forced. So you have control and autonomy. And the other thing is connectedness or community. And community is so important because, like, say you're at the gym, or say you're doing some kind of challenge with your friends. The fact that you have people that are watching you in this class makes you want to keep going, or the fact that you have multiple people to go through an experience with is holding you accountable to this goal. There's just a certain level of accountability and connectedness that shows you that your goal is valuable. If people around you are also participating in your goal, then it intuitively tells you like, oh, this is a valuable goal that I've set for myself, or this is a valuable outcome, which will then make you motivated. So if you want to achieve your goals, one of the best things that you can look into is self-determination theory, but one of the practical takeaways: find something that you feel like you can control, find something that you decide on your own values is worthy of trying to achieve, and find some people to share the goal with and to keep you accountable and to help you through difficult times. Those are the 3 magical pillars, and when you take one away, like for instance, say you take away community, then it's going to hurt your motivational system, because basically that's going to tell you like, hey, your goals, they're not that valuable. Like, people aren't really that into it. And whenever we see things around us, because we're social animals, that people aren't valuing, we start to question the value ourselves. Anyways, those are 4 practical things that I've learned from studying psychology. Please do comment in the links. I want to know some practical stuff that you learned from psychology that has helped you in some way. That would be cool. Peace out. High five.